Nobody knows this data. Nobody but me in New Zealand has seen this data. Now I'm giving it to the world.
Explain why. Explain that.
Because it's a payment system, and I'm the database administrator for it. I'm the only one. Because New Zealand is a small country, you can get away with one database administrator to do this. So I'm in a unique position in the world, and because New Zealand is a tier 1 country with really good IT, I was able to manage and build the system and be the only database administrator needed to look after it. In other countries like America or Britain, you'd need a whole team of people. So it would be very difficult for one person to get access to all of this information.
So New Zealand becomes a seminal example for the world.
Yes.
We are a petri dish here.
Yes, we are. And if it's happening here, guarantee it's happening everywhere. I was involved with building a project, helped with implementing a vaccine payment system for our providers. Every time someone gets vaccinated, they get a payment for it as a provider. And I helped build it, I implemented it. And when I was looking at the data, which is part of my job, I noticed some discrepancies with the dates of death, people dying within a week of being vaccinated.
So what did you notice when you first started to look at this data as you were building it?
Well, as soon as the system went live, we noticed that people were dying almost straight away after being injected. So that sort of prompted my curiosity a bit. So what I did was looking at our government's data that we record on births and deaths. I was just curious to see if the death rate was going up, and sure enough it was. So what we have here is a graph of the daily deaths where more than 120 people have died from January the 11th to September 2023. So on the left there, the big red line, is the Christchurch earthquake event. So that is the outlier, and that's a lot of people died on that day. From there, the next line where you get more than 120 people dying is sometime 2012. Then you get nothing for a year. 2013 doesn't have any. 2014, you got a couple. Then nothing. 2016, you got one. Then nothing until 2018, where you get a whole cluster. That's probably due to a flu epidemic, because all these spikes that you see, these black lines previously on the left-hand side, they're all due to the winter flu season. So you've got to remember that all these deaths happening June, July, August. So there in 2018 we had a big flu epidemic. Moving on to the right, you get another one. Then the next red one, the Christchurch massacre, which was in 2019 in March. But from that, you get a cluster in 2020, a whole bunch there. May have been another bad flu season, we don't know. But then from 2021 midway, you see a black line there appearing, and then it's like a flick of a switch. Suddenly, the black lines get closer together, and there's more of them. Very thick black lines there. So this one here, peak deaths with COVID, with or from COVID, but then the deaths from COVID, if you look at the Worldometer website, it correlates to that. That was the same time, and they say that over 60 people died with or from COVID. Then after that, it suddenly drops off. So after that, you only get a couple of people a day dying with or from COVID. So if you go back to the chart there, in that case, you would expect to see the black lines disappear, because no one's dying from COVID anymore, right? but you're not. You're absolutely not. You're seeing the black lines. There are more people dying than ever before. These are the biggest number of deaths we've seen in history of New Zealand. The death rate has gone up 6%, 8% year on year. Even after COVID wasn't a thing, the death rate is still going up. And that's illustrated here by these black lines, which are still going on.
And we're basically getting a Christchurch massacre now on many days in New Zealand.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, that's right. It's like every other day, we're basically seeing another similar number of people in the Christchurch massacre, but it's not being mentioned by anyone in the news. Mainstream media is not picking this up. But there is an increase in the death rate. Nobody's talking about it. But we've got to know why there are excess mortality rates, not just in New Zealand, but across the world. Look at the top 10 batches that had a high death count, a high mortality rate. And I put them on a chart, which you can see up there. So it's got a batch ID, which is our internal number for a batch, but you can easily get the Pfizer batch ID from that. It shouldn't be too difficult.
So do we know if these are all Pfizer, the top 10?
Yes, they are.
And this is Pfizer's batch number 1. We've had 711 from batch number 1 vaccinated. 152 of those died, which makes a 21%
Percentage, yeah.
death rate.
Mortality rate. From that
Mortality
particular
rate.
batch.
They are high. Now, what's our normal that we would
It should
expect?
be underlying
0.75.
mortality rate, 0.75.
0.75.
Because these batches are against all age groups as well. It's not one particular batch for one particular age group, it's across all ages. So all the vaccination centres, whoever rocked up on the day, whatever age you were, and it would average out. It would all average out. So there's not one particular batch that points to one particular age group. What we have here are the top 10 vaccinators who have the highest ratios of mortality.
For privacy reasons, we have redacted the names of those jabbed and the names of those jabbing. We have, yeah. So we've just called it Vaccinator 1.
Yeah, but these are individuals. These are real people. These are real numbers. This is government data. So the top V1 has vaccinated 246 people, and 60 of them are no longer with us. And
That
that's
is nearly 25%.
1 in 4, nearly 1 in 4 that person vaccinated is now dead. And you can come up with any number of reasons for it, but this should never happen. This should never happen. If they were all doing their job correctly, if there's a normal vaccine, it would be 0.75.
And if you were arguing, okay, there was one vaccinator who was incompetent, not doing the job properly, that's an aberration. But look at the other numbers.
Yeah.
So it looks, then we start to say, what is it they were putting into people's bodies?
And unless they're going around terminally ill cancer wards and injecting people who they know are going to die, then there is no other explanation for this data. And why would they be doing that anyway? You know, it doesn't make any sense. The vaccine is meant to protect those people.
This is proving that this is not able any longer to be put down to natural causes, or this would have happened anyway.
Absolutely
the data
not.
takes it away from that.
Exactly. This cannot be a natural event. This is man-made. So statistically, what we're saying is that there is no chance that this vaccine is not a killer.